few notes on decentering money in your life. It's a very strange topic to think of a life that isn't centered around money, especially because you need money to do everything. You need money to, eat, money to accommodate yourself. You need money to move around and just maintain life as it is, right? And then you need money to quote unquote enjoy life, or at least that's what you're told. So for all the things that you need to do, like vacations and just having a certain level of flexibility and ease, like all these different things that we go through, the narrative is you need money too. So it felt very odd to me a couple of weeks ago when I felt like one of the most important steps that I need to take in this growth journey that I've been on for the last 2.5 years is to decenter money. It's like I've done a lot of work. I've by the grace of God, I've learned a lot of things. I've learned to manage my emotions, to not get attached. I need to observe things. I learned to manage failure, to not get caught up in my head. Like I've done all these different things, but then it felt like one thing that was still a holdback is to decenter money. Now it's strange because I've never really felt like I've centered money in my life, right? I've never been one of those people. I've always seen money as a byproduct of value, and I've always pursued this idea of value. But I think subconsciously there was still this contract in my head that when it's all said and done, I will get money. So when I go into any situation, or when I've been in a situation where I feel like I've been building value for a very long time and I don't get money in return, I typically tend to get frustrated, right? Because I'm like, this is where the money is supposed to start pouring in. So why don't I have the money yet? So when I had that thought, I need to decenter money, I was like, what does it actually mean to decenter money? Like, how do you get there? How do you get to the point where like money, the thing that you need, is not necessarily the primary focus of everything you do, even in the way that I see it as a byproduct of value, right? And there are a few things that have helped in getting close to that understanding, right? One is grappling with this idea of work. Because I used to wonder, like, why do we work? Why do we have this thing called work? Why do you need money to go around? Why do we have this contract and these relationships where, because if you think about it, it's a little absurd, right? You wake up in the morning, you're out 8 to 9 hours a day to go slave away, and then you come back, sleep for 2 hours or sleep for 6 hours, and then go back again the next day and do that for your entire life. For what? So you can get money, and then to do what with that money? So you can pay for the house that you're sleeping in, pay for the car that you're driving to your work, pay for the family that you only get to spend a couple hours with every week. Like it's a little ridiculous when you think about this setup that we have going on. And whilst I don't understand the roots of it, the one thing I've understood though is this knowing that at the end of the day, the world needs to make progress, right? Like think about everything that you're looking at right now, like the device you're watching this video on, the earphones you're using, like the thing that charges, the chair you're sitting on, or the bed you're laying in, or the internet you're using. Like for you to consume this thing that I'm putting forward, and for me to record this and get it to you, there are so many things that has to happen before that exchange is possible. That is why work is necessary, right? Like the process that creates the technology, the internet, the camera, the clothes I'm wearing, the chair I'm sitting in, like the process that creates the things that makes our lives go on is work. So if you were to eliminate work, we may not necessarily have the progress that we have, right? And it's a weird thing to wrap your head around, but work is the thing that creates the environments that we find ourselves in. So in that sense, work is as fundamental to our being and our existence on this planet like breathing or like drinking water, right? It's a necessity for ongoing life. So whatever you do, and this is the punchline, whatever you do, you will spend your life in service of something or someone in exchange for means to keep living, because that's a system we've created. Like whatever it is, right? So the first thing I've had to understand is like, I can't escape work. This promise that people make on the internet about not having to work a day in your life and all the different things we say, like I'm like, I can't escape work. Whatever happens, I'm still going to work. I'm going to work, point blank, period. So if that is the case, then I might ask, well, put myself in service of something that, one, I genuinely enjoy, 2, that I genuinely believe in, and 3, that is fulfilling in spite of how much money it makes me. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, I think that was one of the breakthroughs. The realization that I need to be productive to keep my life going. And my productivity contributes to the whole, to the good of the whole. And the primary objective to live a life that's discentered of money is not the monetary value that, whatever it just brings, but the sense of fulfillment that I am building towards something that is important, and I'm functioning in the intended design of who I am, and I'm contributing to the whole in that regard. And typically money sort of comes as a byproduct of that. Like, you do that well, money follows, right? It's an all thing, but you do that really well, money follows. So that knowledge now flipped my thinking from, what do I do to make money, to what do I do that is meaningful in the world, that is fulfilling to me, that can then make money, right? And that moves money truly, truly, truly to the second position. And the second thing, which I've also learned just by my experience, is that in a good number of cases, it's possible to not need money. In fact, I think my entire life has actually been a testament of that. It's just that I've never really taken it seriously. Why do we need money? You need money to get things, right? And usually that's the mode of exchange that we've agreed on. But I found in my life that you can't get things without having money. You can get things by being useful to people, and in exchange, they give you things, and you don't even exchange money at all, right? I've had my rent paid in the past. I've had technology gear given to me. I've had opportunities. I've had, like, now I do a lot of consulting work, and part of like the thing is like I barter, right? So I get clothes, I get access to things, I get food, I get access to network. Like, I get things that normally I would have spent money on, but I'm still able to get them without money. And for a while, I didn't like that. Why? Because money represented a certain sense of control, and not having that control created a sense of anxiety within me. So the second thing that I've kind of had to deal with in this journey of decentering money is realizing that I want control, and money is a way I have or feel that control. So even if I am getting the things that I need, so long as they are not being mediated by money that I feel I can control, I'm not happy with them, and I'm still anxious about them. And that was very interesting too, right? I was like, why? And again, the risk is real, right? Because what's the guarantee that, because the thing is, when you have money, the guarantee is that when the need arises, you control how, you fulfill that particular need, right? Like, you're not waiting on anybody, you're not in anybody's hands. Like, so when you don't have money, that goes away. And that's where the anxiety comes from. And it's fair. Like, it's a very fair, like, anxiety to have. But I think it also limits our ability to see the world and to see value exchange in a more expansive way than just like cash, right? So when you get into relationships, when you get to meet people, you're too short-term focused, you're too cash obsessed, so you get to miss out on long-term opportunity. Now, all that I'm saying, I'm aware that it takes a certain level of emotional nuance to be able to manage and to be able to understand. But ultimately, it's knowing that there is value larger than money, and the anxiety that you suffer is as a result of money representing control. And it's also possible that I'm saying this from a very, very privileged position, right? Because, actually, let's just say I'm saying it from a fairly privileged position, because not a lot of people are in that situation to even be thinking about barter. But I could argue that, but for the sake of safety, let's just say that I'm speaking from a very privileged position, so take that with a pinch of salt. But those are the two things, right? Now, the thing I've realized is that you get money, okay, as a byproduct of creating value from someone. That's what I believe. It's always been my thesis about money. And I think decentering money, understanding that work is a productive, necessary part of life, and understanding that money is the cheapest form of value, there is way more value beyond just money, actually puts you in a better position to be able to provide value in the best possible way that actually creates the opportunity to make more money, which is the irony of this entire thing, which is the irony of decentering money, because decentering money puts you in a position to actually be able to make more money. Why? Because I think making money is a function of two things. Making money is a function of care and service, in my opinion, right? You need to care about something, someone, some people, and you need to serve them. Now, obviously, the service entails, skill development and, all the different things that you have to do as a professional to be able to actually go on and, make that money. But it fundamentally comes down to those two things. So not being too obsessed about money upfront and understanding that it takes care and service and understanding that value is larger than money actually puts you in a position that when you stand in front of someone, one, you are pursuing something that you're truly and genuinely interested in, which means that you will give it a lot of time, energy, and effort, which means you can actually get good at it because you're playing for the long haul. And two, you are not too short-term focused. So you can actually explore a lot of value in whatever relationship you find yourself in and play for the long term. That is where real wealth comes from. So I've found that my ability to not think about money as a primary reason for anything, whilst being fairly aware of the necessity of it, is actually the skill that can make a lot of difference. And I think it's a skill that can make a lot of difference for you. Now, again, I'm aware that it will take a certain kind of person in a certain period in their lives with a certain ability to even be able to understand all of these things and to follow it. Yeah, but I think it's, if you have the capacity to even understand what I'm saying, I think it's important, especially in the world that we're getting into, where the world is shifting underneath us, with AI technology. There is so much uncertainty around how money is made and what money looks like, and I think understanding these ideas could actually put you in a better position to navigate, because you're not tied to any medium. You are almost operating from a meta position. So I'm curious to see what it looks like over the next 5 to 10 years, and what life feels like and what results I'm able to produce out of my life as a result of just navigating this and dealing with this. Yeah, so I just wanted to share those thoughts. Let me know if you have any thoughts in the comments. I hope this helps. I'll see you around. Cheers.